Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Nonprofit organizations across the country are expressing frustration in the days following the AmeriCorps cuts being announced by the Trump administration.
Closer to home, several organizations in the Fox Valley that utilize AmeriCorps services tell Action 2 News they are uncertain about what the future holds. News 6 Drew Best joins us now live at our Fox Valley newsroom with more on the local response. Drew.
Bill and Cammie, local nonprofit leaders tell me they are going back to the drawing board this week, trying to figure out how to continue providing the same opportunities to the people they serve after losing both financial and hands-on assistance provided by AmeriCorps. I spoke with two nonprofits in the Fox Valley who lost access to full-time AmeriCorps workers, the St. Francis Free Clinic in Oshkosh and the Multicultural Coalition in Menasha. Their organizations have a paid staff of 1 and 4 respectively. Despite having volunteers in each program, they say losing the training and services of their AmeriCorps staff only hurts their abilities to help an increasing amount of community members who need their services.
Just kind of learning overnight that they could no longer come to the clinic and help us out was really disheartening for them and for our clinic staff.
It might be a cost savings today, but the long-term impact when you pull away civil servants from our community, that will probably triple the cost of the program itself.
Wisconsin's 8th District Congressman Tony Weed addressing the cuts in a statement, which reads in part, quote, "While programs like AmeriCorps are generally beneficial to our region, we need to evaluate taxpayer-funded programs on a case-by-case basis to ensure every dollar is spent effectively. I will continue to work with the Trump administration to ensure we can continue to fund necessary programs while working to make our government more efficient," end quote. I also spoke with an official with United Way Fox Cities over the phone who says they ceased all grant activities, meaning all projects will be stopped or delayed until they feel they can bring them back financially. Reporting live in the Valley Newsroom, Drew Best, Action 2 News.